Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sara Gonzales. Glenn, what was the top story for you today?
Easter worshipers losing their life while worshiping Easter.
I don't think they
worship.
Terrible tragedy.
Yeah, that's
people don't worship Easter, though.
no. I learned about it yesterday in the press. Everybody on news media. You know, there's Islamists, there's Christians, there's Jews, and then apparently there's Easter worshipers.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Stu.
I have an update on our ongoing jihad against statues that I'd like to bring to the table.
Oof.
Okay.
This is a good one.
All right, Jeffy.
I want to talk about the Dallas County, which this building actually sits in, Dallas County, the district attorney. And his, I thought district attorneys were supposed to prosecute crimes. I thought we learned that.
That one is an unbelievable story.
We're about to lose Texas. I don't think America understands
I know.
the ramifications of losing Texas, but it has gone insane here.
Yeah. All right. First, we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing.
American Financing is a company that I've been doing business with since right after the crash. They wanted to do business with me before the crash, and I said, I don't believe in, any mortgage company. And they're like, no, we agree with you. We're not like that at all. And I'm like, yeah, you all suck. Apparently they didn't. They didn't suck because the people who took out mortgages through American Financing did not go through the trouble that everybody else went through. American Financing, they work for you, and that's the key. They are not on commissions. They work on salary. They don't take kickbacks from the bank, so they're going to find the right loan for you. You're looking to refi, you're looking to buy a new home, whatever it is, you can qualify within 10 minutes, closes in as fast as 10 days. It's a family-owned and operated business. Now national, it's AmericanFinancing.net. The number's at the bottom of the screen.
All right, Glenn, you said Easter worshipers. That's a separate category now.
So Easter worshipers were of course killed worshiping Easter in Sri Lanka. And what kills me about this, I just did a whole half hour on it on my show. And what kills me about this is we knew that it was Muslims. We knew that it was Muslims in New Zealand. And we knew that it was a white guy. And we knew that it had something to do with hatred. And we also knew that it was, that was spreading all throughout Christianity. Even though that was one killer, one guy, a lone guy, proven to be alone, and an atheist. He was the guy that was making us question, America. And can white people really be trusted with, Muslims just walking around without body armor on? We went through all of that. They made such a big deal, and it was a big deal in New Zealand. That's a huge number of people anywhere, but especially in New Zealand. So I don't want to diminish that at all. But I do want to say this was the second largest terrorist attack since 9/11. 500 people went to the hospital, 300 killed, and it was targeting Christians, and it was Muslims doing it. It was Islamists. Let me be very clear. It was Islamists that did it. And we will not talk about it. They won't say that Christians were killed. It was Easter worshipers. It is vital that we talk about the targeting of Christians. Christians are being targeted in China, in Burma, in Africa, in the Middle East, all throughout Europe. 1,800 religious crimes reported in Europe just last year. 1,800. Out of that, over 1,300 were Christians. 1,100 were Christian churches being burned and desecrated. That's just in Europe last year. And last week, they make me to feel like I'm some criminal or some horrible person for saying, hey, I just want to remind you, ISIS said they were going to burn this cathedral down. It was crazy last week. Yeah. 9 bombs went off in Sri Lanka this week. And you don't hear anybody in the press talking about radicalized Islam. I'm not talking about Muslims. I'm talking about Islamists. There's a huge difference. And unless we pay attention and name our enemy, we are destined to lose. And it is the Islamists, the socialists, the anarchists, the communists that are working together to destabilize the Middle East, which will spread then to Europe to destabilize Europe, and eventually here in the United States. And the last piece is happening right now on our border. We are being destabilized by those 4 groups. Name them, or we're never going to survive.
I found it fascinating that in Sri Lanka they also stopped social media for our safety, or for their safety, to stop the spread of lies and misinformation. Okay. Just seems like maybe you want people to communicate about the bad stuff that's going on.
No, they wanted to make sure they stopped the bad news about who might have perpetrated that, which is kind of strange because it would almost be like if somebody said, if it was an Islamist that pulled something off, the government wouldn't want that out there.
It's interesting. It's also interesting that being able to actually realize the truth, which is we are vulnerable to these things, and no matter how much we say we want to stop them, we're never going to be able to stop them. And we say, because this is Sri Lanka in a way is a left-wing fever dream. Like it's ultimate control from the government. They are able to make it so you can't get guns. Obviously, you can't get bombs. In fact, when we are worried about certain people communicating and maybe scheduling things and collaborating via text message and social media, we can shut them down. I mean, imagine if the left had that power. They wouldn't even outwardly ask for that power in the United States. Yet they have all that power in Sri Lanka, and it still happened, right? And it still happened to a point where it was 5 times as bad as what happened in New Zealand. And you went over this. It was a really interesting segment on Glenn's show tonight when they went over the restrictions. You have to go to the government and say, I have a specific need for a firearm. You can't. They don't just give them out. There are no places to buy firearms in the country. You have to get one. Yeah.
You have to say they'll issue you, for instance, 8 bullets. 8. You don't go into a store and buy them. You have 8 bullets. Here are the 8.
Is that what you get for a lifetime? Or
when you shoot them, you have to explain and account why you shot them.
It is a lifetime.
And you bring those bullets back in. If you only have 7, you only get 7 bullets.
Are there reasons that are acceptable and reasons that are not acceptable to shoot them?
Yeah, there are. And for owning them as well. Like, for example, old people can't get them. Like legitimately, it's written into the law. Old people. That's the wording.
That's what it says. Old people.
Yes.
Cannot get them.
Young kids and old people. I don't know what the age breakup is, but that's kind of an interesting thing.
It's a little subjective.
I think the minute you start saying, get off my lawn,
they do
lose your right to guns in Sri Lanka.
So, and it's an interesting exercise in that, people go and they can't get these guns. In fact, when you buy them, you actually buy them from the government. You're not buying them from a store.
No. And they don't buy them. They pick them.
They pick the one they think will fit your needs
this
best.
is the gun that will be best for you.
That's like my parents went to a dog breeder, and they did that with the dog.
Yeah, they told you this is the breed that's right for you.
Yeah,
that's kind of what this is.
The puppy that's right for you.
That's how restrictive
you don't do that with guns.
The laws are here. I mean, they're to the left of anything proposed in the United States, and they had control. And they didn't use guns; they used bombs. Does that make anybody feel better? Is that a win? Did we win this one because only 300 people died? I mean, in a way, you'd wonder if they had guns, would they have tried to do it with guns and killed less? Who knows?
Right.
It's possible. I think it's just one of those things that we have to realize. This is the brilliance, I think, of the founders, is, they realized and recognized human fallibility. And, people are going to be wrong and people are going to be awful. And those two things are constant throughout humanity from the beginning of time, and you can't legislate them out of existence. They're going to occur.
And the only thing that we have found in the human course of events that tempers that is faith. Specifically, the 10 Commandments and the gospel of Jesus Christ. Those are the only 2 things that have tempered all of mankind. The entire Western world had been tempered. It had gone bad, but only when it falls out of line with what that doctrine teaches. If that doctrine is true, like it has been in America at times, it frees the slaves. It writes the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. It corrects the mistakes with the civil rights movement in the 1960s. When that Christianity, that Judeo-Christian value is really, truly understood and embraced, it makes things work better. We are destroying it.
Well, we
brick by
have been.
brick.
I mean, for how many years have they gradually just been taking?
I don't think there's much left.
Stu, I want to move on to, you said our jihad on statues?
Yes, it's very important. If we don't tear all the bad statues down, then no one will ever be free. And I think that's in the Constitution or something.
Now, I like to play this as the stop-go game.
Yeah? Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I'm just going to say stop-go.
Okay.
You go ahead, tell the story.
So Kate Smith, who is a very famous singer and maybe most famous for her version of God Bless America, which has been played at sporting events all over the country, most famously the Philadelphia Flyers, but really the New York Yankees is where I know it from. It's a very famous version. She's very pro-American, did all sorts of wonderful things, raising money for war bonds and all of this.
Stop. Sounds like a good person, right?
Sounds like a good person.
Okay.
They want to tear down her statue.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so now they want to tear down her statue, and that seems really bad. And as I read the story, I was like, are they really going after now this woman who's going to tear down this woman in her statue? It's ridiculous. This is typical left. What did she say? Something controversial in the 1930s or something. And then I read on and I was like, okay, here are the lyrics of the song that she was singing, and it kind of felt like, well, maybe you don't want that statue up. Here they are, and here's Jeff Fisher to read them.
Someone had to pick the cotton. Someone had to pick the corn. Someone had to slave and be able to sing. That's why darkies were born.
Oh.
Ooh, and I was like, okay,
Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
Oh, man.
Okay, if we stop here, we're all in agreement, right? We stopped before, we were all in agreement.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was a great American. She did a lot of great stuff. We stop here. Holy cow.
crap.
There's
Wow.
no
The
doubt.
statue. I can't see it anymore.
No statue.
Yeah.
No statue.
Was she wearing a hood while singing the song?
Go.
No, she was not. Why? Because she was actually is a part of a larger situation. But basically, it was a satirical song to make fun of racists. So it's a song, think about this, it was a song to mock how dumb racists are.
And it was sung by civil rights movement members.
Yeah, activists, blacks, who actually at the time sang the song
They
to
were like,
show how dumb.
I guess somebody has to pick the cotton. That's why we were born.
Right,
Okay?
that was the actual tone of the song. And she sang, I believe it was over 3,000 songs. There's one other song in which, very early in her career, it was part of a movie, and she was. It was another sort of like slang racist term of the time, and it mentioned things like watermelons, and it was, I mean, certainly by our terms today, very, very racist. But at the time, it wasn't necessarily thought of that way. It was a different time, and it doesn't excuse the racism, obviously. But I mean,
that one is not this.
that was not that one, right? Like so. Really, it's this one song that's the center of the controversy, and it was actually designed to mock racists. Now, we're going to now go 60 years into the future, or actually 70, 80 years into the future, and say, okay, the satire of that time is now off limits. We're taking in our minds and converting it from satire to real commentary of these people, like Kate Smith. And now they're taking down her statue they're not playing her song anymore at Flyers games. They're taking out her statue outside of the Yankee Stadium. Now, other than the fact that the Yankees are horrible and I want bad things to happen to them, it's just one of those situations where we're going to lose where we're going. I mean, we talked about Amy Schumer, who we've talked about before.
We got a great game tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, this is...
Amy or the Klan. We're going to play that tomorrow.
Because if you go back and listen, particularly to Amy Schumer's early comedy, which at times is brilliant, it is also incredibly racist if you don't read it in the voice of her mocking someone who's racist. The point of it is to show how dumb racists are. That's the whole point of it. But if we're going to just allow ourselves to remove the context of these comments, and what do we do now? Like with things like Blazing Saddles and all these like brilliant pieces of commentary that that did a great job taking racism and taking it out of the idea that it was a legitimate idea that people actually had, a real philosophy that was around for way too long, and turning it into something that we just laughed at, right? Like it was something that should be mocked and discarded. And comedy did a lot of that work. I mean, that did a lot of that work with Nazism. It did a lot of that work with all
Mel
of
Brooks, the Inquisition.
Exactly. Like, this is like, historically has done incredible effort as far as pop culture goes to discard these awful movements and ideologies.
But someone,
and now we're going to
somewhere, sometime, may see that statue.
No, that's not why it's
and
down.
get triggered.
I can guarantee you it's not because of triggering. It is to fundamentally transform our traditions, our languages, our history. God bless America. That's the song she was known for. God bless America. There's two problems with that sentence to a lot of people on the left. Destroy her, you've destroyed the song.
Yeah, and just quickly to add on to that, because if there was racism in this time, and of course there was serious racism, it almost entirely flowed from progressives. This is the height of the progressive era. It's the height of eugenics, which led to the Nazi movement, and it all came from the progressive side of the argument at that time. And now they're going to blame essentially the other side, the American patriotic side, as the problem here, even though this wasn't an example of racism. But if it was an example of racism, they're targeting it that way.
I said to Stu, the minute I heard this morning, I said, find out who she was hanging out with, because I assumed she was progressive. And she might, we might find out she still is. But at that time period, that's Margaret Sanger Central. That is the worst of the worst progressives. And they'll have a statue of Margaret Sanger, and we keep that up because we don't necessarily agree with everything that she said and did. But Kate Smith, what are we, insane? God bless America.
You sound like one of those Easter worshipers. Back in a minute. Before we get back into the conversation, I want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. Glenn, you've had great experience with Relief Factor.
Hey, how you feeling?
This weekend in particular, right? It was a big Relief Factor weekend.
Yeah. I wasn't feeling so good last weekend, or last part of the week.
Yes, you abandoned us in the middle of the Mueller report, and I contend he just didn't want to read it.
I did.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
He wasn't sick at all. He just wanted to bail on the 500-page report.
That's it.
That's
We're on
impossible.
to you, Glenn Beck.
Glenn,
We're on to you.
I can't believe they're calling you out on that.
So anyway, here's the thing. I started taking Relief Factor because my wife, she was like,
that's not how your wife sounds. I've heard her.
Pretty close.
the way I hear it. Anyway, so she was, because I was really in a bad place, and I said, I just can't do it anymore. And she said, then please just try this. And I'm like, it's not going to work. It's 100% natural. It doesn't have some sort of bad chemical in it. It's not going to work. And I'm a guy who literally, I have woken up on the operating table twice. You want to talk about anesthesiologists freaking out? I have very little memory of it. I just remember them both doing this. That's anyway. So a lot of stuff doesn't work for me. This does, and it's 100% natural. It's drug-free. Please, if you're in pain, this reduces the inflammation, and it will work. It works for 70% of the people who try it. Try the quick start now, relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call the number at the bottom of the screen.
All right, Jeffy, the Dallas County District Attorneys.
John Creuzot, nice guy, just the new district attorney for Dallas County.
Very nice guy.
He's decided that, look, if you are caught stealing something under $750 worth of goods, like let's say baby food or diapers or things that you might need to live by.
Crack.
No, but if you were to have baby food and crack,
Okay, maybe.
you're still in need,
All
it's
right,
fine.
yeah.
He's not going to prosecute you.
He's announcing this?
Get out of here.
Oh,
Yeah, he announced it this week.
Just get out of here. We're not going to prosecute you. You're fine. Look, the businesses are not happy. The police department are not happy because they still have to go through all the processes. If the police arrest you, why are they going to go through all the merchandise and all the goods if
So what
you're not
happens
going to
if
be
you
prosecuted?
What happens if you steal sneakers and clothes because you have to have them for
Yes,
school?
absolutely. Then you're good.
You won't be charged.
You won't be. He
That
will
is
not prosecute.
insanity.
Prosecuted.
You
That
will
is
not be prosecuted.
insanity.
And I think wasn't
That's socialism.
the actual the actual wording was as long as it's not for financial gain.
Yeah, it was. He talked about people that needs it. You know, the needs of the people. So they weren't. If you were
Then
out
go
with
to
the
a
family,
charity and get it. What do we look at what we're doing? We are systematically creating mob rule.
You said that's socialism, and I thought you were going to go to a different S name, which is that's Seattle. We've been talking about this documentary, Seattle is Dying. It's a new thing that came out from KOMO in Seattle, and we're going to be doing something on it in the next couple of weeks. But these are the type of things they did. They started taking crimes that were, petty crimes and not prosecuting them. Yeah, someone's living out on the street. Someone's going to the bathroom in the street. What are you going to do? You can't do anything about that. They stopped prosecuting them. They stopped going after these people, including up into like buying drugs on the street and.
Well, they're necessary items. That was his line.
Necessary items.
They're necessary items.
Right, and I think like you start doing this, and this
For
is
financial gain.
right. Things get out of control fast.
So you go into a Starbucks and you
For
clean them
financial
out
gain.
with, croissants. It's the only food me and my buddies have all day. We live out on the street. That's okay?
Yeah,
think
he claims that it's done. It's not done by feelings. It's done by research. But then on the other hand, he said there is no research, and he's going to have. He's going to try to have
He is the
a
perfect
local
progressive.
Yeah, we're going to have a local university do the research to see if it does in fact create more crime, create worse problems. I mean, even our governor of the great state of Texas, Greg Abbott, actually tweeted saying Dallas County District Attorney stokes crime by refusing to prosecute theft of personal items worth less than $750. If someone is hungry, they can just steal some food. If cold, steal a coat. Where does it end? It's wealth redistribution by
Amen.
theft.
Would you do me a favor? Let's get Governor Abbott on the radio tomorrow. I got to talk to him about this because I have to tell you, when we first moved down here, remember we moved down here because we were afraid we were losing Texas, and we thought, hey, we just want to be where it's free and everything else, and I'm sure people are wide awake, but it's getting a little rocky. It is starting to get frightening here in Texas how far these cities are moving.
Well, and this television studio sits in Dallas County.
Thank you.
So I would like to say that, get some baby food around, because if I take a TV out of here, I'm going to have some baby food with me too. So.
I mean, it really is amazing, though. This just like laws don't matter anymore here. We've got illegal immigrants coming in, and we've got the left saying it's fine. Laws don't matter there. We've got now.
Pot.
Right.
Pot. He's also not going to prosecute.
Misdemeanor marijuana. He's not prosecuting
I mean,
that,
why
and
have
he's
laws?
going back. He's going back to crimes that were taken care of before he took office, and just get rid of those.
I think we need to start selling T-shirts and sticker books that just say $751 on them. So just like you can just put it on all your stuff. It just at $751.
But it's on sale. But it's on sale today for $12.99.
I think if I owned a store, that's what I would do. It's like everything's $751, and when someone comes in and asks to buy it, you just say, yeah, it's $12.99 today only.
Like the dollar store.
It's a great
Yeah.
deal.
$751 store. I like that.
You can't rip off anything. Sorry, you're screwed. It would be nice if we lived in a place that made sense. And the fact that that's happening in Texas. Now look, Dallas is a city. They've been voting left for a very long time. This is not new, but this is the result of when you do that, what happens. And now you have people.
This is a very large city.
I mean, look.
We're talking about the land alone.
Yeah.
This is a large city, and these cities in Texas are growing so rapidly. We lose Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin.
We're done.
You're done.
Yeah, you're
It
over.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right, back in a minute. It's all those people from California. Coming here. I love working here. This is so fun. If you guys have not yet already, go to iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. I know there's like 1 billion of them now. Go there and subscribe to the podcast and rate us. How many stars do they give you? Like five total?
Give us 10.
Yeah.
It actually, when you subscribe, rate, and review, it helps other people discover it, and that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, because think about all of the people who exist right now who might not know that this show even happens.
Yeah.
That would be a really sad life.
Billions and
It would
billions.
be a sad life.
Hey.
Those are just the poor stars.